Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking this incredible journey back in time, starting with the very first stone tools on the Indian subcontinent and following the path all the way to some of the world's first ever planned cities.
I mean, just think about that for a second. A city with a sanitation system 4,500 years ago. That's just mind-blowing. And the whole journey to get there? It starts with something as simple as a sharpened stone. All right, let's get into it. So before we can even get to those amazing cities, we've got to rewind, way back. Back to a time before anyone was writing anything down. So the big question is, right, how do we know anything about this time? How can you tell a story when there are no words?
Well, it all comes down to how historians classify the past. For most of human existence, we're talking prehistory. This is where archaeologists are basically detectives, They're sifting through dirt, looking at old tools, bones, whatever they can find. But then you have this other period, proto-history, which is, man, it's so fascinating. It means people were writing, but we can't read it. It's like finding a secret diary from an entire lost civilization, but the key is just gone.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. The first, and honestly by far the longest chapter in the human story, the Stone Age.
Okay, look at this timeline. The first thing that should just jump right out at you is the sheer scale of that top line. The Paleolithic period, we're talking nearly 2 million years. I mean, that's basically all of human history right there in one chunk. And then, look what happens. The other ages are just a blip in comparison. It's like humanity was just cruising in first gear for a couple million years, and then all of a sudden, bam, we started shifting gears fast.
And for those millions of years, life was, well, it was tough. It was all about survival, day in and day out. People were hunter-gatherers, living in these small, nomadic groups, always on the move, chasing their next meal. And their tools? They were simple, just crude pieces of rock, whatever worked. This was life on the absolute edge.
Now this is where everything changes. This is maybe one of the single biggest revolutions in all of human history, the switch to farming. And you got to understand, this wasn't just about changing how we got food. No, it changed everything. It's the difference between wandering forever and finally putting down roots. This is the moment villages start to happen. It's the beginning of a totally new way to be human.
And you can see just how massive that shift was right here. We're seeing the very first planned villages, like Mehrgar. We're finding the oldest proof of race farming in the world at Mahagarha. And our relationship with animals, it's completely transformed. We're not just hunting them anymore, we're domesticating them. There's this one site, Burzaholm, where they actually found dogs buried with their masters. I mean, that's incredible. It shows a real bond, something way more than just a working animal.
Okay, so people have figured out farming, they're settling down, but we didn't stop there, of course not. The next massive leap forward came from discovering a totally new kind of material.
And that material was copper. This is the Chalcolithic Age, or the Copper Stone Age. For the first time, humans are using metal, and copper was an absolute game changer. Think about it. You can melt it, you can pour it into a mold, you can make any shape you want. It's way stronger than stone. This just blew the doors open for better farming tools, better everything, really. So all of this progress, farming, settling down, mastering metal, it's all building up to something huge. And that is one of the world's oldest and greatest urban civilizations, right here on the subcontinent. A civilization that was right up there with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, but was also completely unique. And look at the scale of this thing. When we say Indus Valley civilization, we're not talking about a couple of towns. We're talking about a civilization that stretched across a massive area. We found over 1,400 settlements so far, and counting. This was a huge, sprawling, interconnected world.
But what's really mind-blowing about their cities is, how modern they feel. These were not just a jumble of houses. No way. These were master-planned cities. We're talking streets laid out on a perfect grid, a two-tier structure with a fortified citadel up high and a lower town below. And get this, they had the world's first known urban sanitation system with covered drains running down the main streets. That's something that wouldn't show up again for literally thousands of years in many places.
Now that level of planning tells you something else. This was a seriously sophisticated economy. They had standardized weights and measures that were the same across all these different cities. The bricks they used to build with? All a uniform size. That just screams central coordination. And we know they were trading with civilizations as far away as Mesopotamia, probably using these incredible intricate little seals to stamp their goods.
But here's the thing.
For all of the amazing stuff we found, their cities, their trade goods, the people of the Indus Valley have left us with some massive, fascinating mysteries.
And probably the biggest question of all is, who was in charge? I mean, think about it. You've got this vast, highly organized civilization. Who was calling the shots? How did they manage all of this?
Well, nobody really knows for sure. The experts are pretty much split. On one side, you have the incredible uniformity, the same bricks, the same city layouts everywhere, which makes you think there must have been a single central government, right? But on the other side, unlike in Egypt or Mesopotamia, we haven't found any giant palaces, no huge royal tombs. There's just no obvious evidence of powerful kings or pharaohs.
And what that might mean is that this was a society that just valued different things. It seems like instead of pouring their resources into building huge monuments for kings or funding giant armies, they invested in public works, things like great public baths and sanitation systems. It's a really compelling picture of a more peaceful, maybe even a more equal way of life.
And that, right there, leads us to the biggest mystery of them all, their writing. We found thousands of these little seals with their script on them, but nobody can read it. It's totally undeciphered. The story of who they were, what they believed in, what they dreamed about, it's all written down, but we don't have the key. So you have this huge, peaceful, incredibly organized civilization, and their greatest secrets are still locked away, just waiting for us to figure them out. You have to wonder, what else could they tell us?